Hi, hello. So I just finished my last reading vlog, and I always, when I finish the last one, I instantly start a new one. This month's theme, I wanted to read books with covers that have least amount of color on them. I was picking out these books and I found out that there is quite a lot of them, and I definitely won't be reading all of them because they are very thick books. Last month were kind of thinner books. This month they're very thick books. So first off, we have a book that is coming back, and that is The Two Towers. This is the second in Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think I'm definitely going to pick this one up because it is, I have to finish Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I'm really excited about the second one because I really like the first one a lot. Then I have a book that I know everybody loves, and that is Dark Academia book, and it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. As you can see, it's also black cover, but I am really excited about this one because one of my friends loves this book. I think that this is his favorite book, and he always tells me that I should read it, and he loves Donna Tartt books all in all, so I definitely want to read this one. Then I have a book that I bought, I don't know when, but when I bought this book, I bought the other cover, but they sent me this cover, which is kind of ugly, but it's okay, I don't really care. That is The Perception by Aldous Huxley. I already read Brave New World by him. I didn't really like it, so I'm kind of hesitant about this one, but I feel like I should definitely read this one. I will maybe even try to start with this one because it's the shortest, but also because I feel like it's going to be the hardest one to read for me. I feel that it's pretty philosophical. One thing I know about this book is that this book was written whilst Aldous Huxley was on mushrooms. So he wrote this book whilst he was on some kind of substance. Our Shadow Night by Mariana Enriquez. I already read short story collection by her, The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, a few years ago. I really liked that one, so I feel like I could really enjoy this one as well. It's a family saga, it's horror, it has magic elements, I believe, and I am quite excited about this one. Two books that came out this year. First one is Sour Cherry by Natalia Theodoridou. I really want to read this book as well. I want to read these all so much, but this one just sounds amazing. It's like in medieval, I think. It sounds like it's in medieval times because there is like a manor house and a lord's baby boy. You know what? I don't know why I thought it's in medieval, but it doesn't really matter because I think that I will like it. And the last one is Audition by Katie Kitamura. As you can see, this book is quite black. It has colorful letters, but I did count the number of colors that are in the letters, and there is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. Yeah, 5, 6. There are 6 colors. So it's still quite a small number. But yeah, this is the last one. So I have with me for this month's reading list, I have 6 books to choose from. It's not realistic to read all of them. I will not go in that way that I need to read all of them. But let's see which one I will start with because I will try to start today as soon as possible. So I said that maybe I would start with Doors of Perception. But you know what? Maybe I don't want to start with Doors of Perception. I feel like reading something completely new. So I think I'm going to start with Audition by Katie Kitamura. I think this is a good start. I'm really excited about this one. Also, I just had important audition, so I'm still waiting for the results, but I am kind of nervous. I think this is a good time to pick up Audition. So I think I will start with this one, and I'll talk to you when I have something to say about this book. So, hi. It's been 2 days, and I read Audition. I just read it. like 5 minutes ago. I just finished this book and I loved it. I think it was brilliantly done. I think it's so good. There was like a part of the book where I wasn't sure if this book is going to do what I wanted it to do, and then the ending came and it changed everything. It changed my opinion of this book so much. The ending was amazing. I'm still in awe because I really, really liked it so much. So if somebody were to ask me what this book was about, actually, I would say this book is about characters. Not people, but characters. Characters that are being in the moment, written in the moment. Because the way this book is written, we have our main character, our narrator, and everything is from her POV, kind of. But the thing is that she isn't a complex character. I would say she isn't like a person. I at least didn't think of them, any of them being as people. I thought of all of them being characters because she is a wife. At the beginning, she's an actress. Then she becomes a wife. And while she's a wife, she isn't really an actress anymore. While she's an actress, she isn't wife. When she's mother, she isn't wife or an actress. She's just a mother. And when she's not none of it, she's then a stranger, some strange woman. And then she's a muse. And I think that's a really fun way to play with a character in which you kind of have all of these pieces of puzzle, but you're not putting them together. And she's written in a way that you're kind of seeing her being one of these things, but it's never interconnected. It's never all of the things at the same time. Everything that takes place in this book, all the things that take place, they take place in a specific room, in a specific area. And it really reminded me of stage. And in the ending, what was done, it was literally becoming a stage. Our character isn't reliable because she's a character, and because we don't need to know what happened or didn't happen. All the characters that we are seeing them only, and we are thinking about them only whilst they are on the stage. But when they go out, they don't exist anymore. It kind of reminded me of having, in theater when you have curtains, and then when the character comes out, they exist on stage, and when they go out, they don't exist anymore. It's now part for other characters to exist on stage. And I thought it was amazing. I think it's so brilliant. And there are like the relationships between the characters. They're very bizarre, to be honest, because you don't really know what the relationships are. I mean, in synopsis of the book, I read the synopsis when I ended the book because I was kind of thinking about, okay, what was this book? What was the synopsis of this book? What is told to people this book is about? And it is told that it's about a woman, an actress, who finds herself at a restaurant with this young guy that could be her son. He's that young. And then what is their relationship? And it doesn't really matter what their relationship is, to be honest. It didn't really matter to me what the relationship is. At every point of the book, their relationship is something different. It's never the same. It's completely different. It's like a piece of classical music, and then there are like variations of that piece. I kind of felt this book kind of did that because there were like all of these variations of them being their relationship. I mean, she wasn't like at the same time. Like, it's not in a weird sense, but it was like variations of how the relationship could have been and what it could be. They're like, it's the same relationship, but variations of it, if that makes any sense. The book being stage and the way it was written, also another thing I noticed, that I know some people have pet peeve, and I know that people always say this about Sally Rooney's books, but there aren't quotation marks when somebody's talking. It's just you are really easily able to discern who is talking at what time. It's not hard at all, but it really reminded me of a scenario, and there are like quotation marks. There is like just their name and then what they said, and here it did lack their name, but it kind of still reminded me of that because it was like what they say all the time. And I thought it was just another quite smart thing to do with this. Everything was really, really flowing, and at every single point of the book, you weren't sure what was really happening and what is important at that moment, because it was at that moment, but you can't really connect the importance of that moment with the importance of another moment. I don't think this is sensible to anybody what I'm talking about, but it's just the way I felt about this book. Somewhere in the middle of the book, I thought, oh, the characters are a bit dry. I don't really know a lot about these characters. I don't really know anything about these characters, to be honest. They're kind of it's a bit dry. It's like they're lacking. And then in the end, I understood why. I understood that they weren't lacking. I don't think everybody would love this book. I don't think everybody would like this book either. I think it is very polarizing book, as it is with every single book that is one of my favorites almost. I feel like you either love these kind of books that are very, very weird and you do not know what is actually happening, and they're about characters and they're a bit plotless. So you either love it or you either hate it. Yeah. And I love them. I love these kind of books, so it makes sense that I love this one. But yeah, I gave it 4.5 for now. I definitely want to reread it at some point. I don't know if it's going to be like by the end of the year or the next year, but I do definitely want to read this book. And I feel like the rating of this book could potentially go up on my reread, because I will understand what this book tried to do from the beginning. So I feel like I would maybe even have a different opinion on this. Also, what this book talks about at some point is how the context really matters, because if you're watching a play, the character is watching this film, and in this film she's like thinking, oh my god, this actor is so brilliant, he does everything with so much intent, he's like constantly confused and constantly touching everything with confusion, and it makes this character so much more deep, and it looks like he really understands it. Turns out the guy who played it couldn't remember his lines, so they had to tape all over the set his lines, and then he was like looking for them. And that's the context. And she's talking about, okay, so now this ruined it for me, but it didn't actually. She understands that it didn't actually ruin it, because she still has those first two viewings of the film in which she didn't know that, and in which it was a different context for her. It wasn't ruined, it was just explained, and then you will see differently, but the first two times aren't going to be any different. The first two times you've seen it, you're still going to have the same opinion of it. So yeah, I thought that was really important, and that's why I would want to read this book, because now I have a complete context of the book. I mean, I don't have complete because I didn't research like how the writing process was going with this book, but I have a context of the book, of the ending of the book, to start at the beginning. So yeah. Okay, hi. It's, I think 3 days has passed since I last updated you, and I finished The Doors of Perception just a few moments ago, and I wanted to talk about it right away. So first of all, I have to say this book wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be for me to understand it, for me to read it, and I feel like I can really see how much of improvement I've had since I tried to read this book last time, because I tried to read this book like 2 years ago and I couldn't comprehend anything almost. Like I try to read just few, like 3 to 4 pages. And now I read it, and of course there were some things that I didn't really understand, that were a bit too hard for me to understand, especially because they are in English. And but I think that I did get enough from this book, that I did understand in the end what this book was trying to do, what he was thinking about, and what his thoughts were. So, as I said, this is non-fiction book. It is. I'm sorry, you can see my ring light in it because it's a glossy cover. So, okay, let's just hold it like this. So yeah, it's a non-fiction book. He wrote this when he was under the influence of mescaline. He was under the influence of this, and I really thought that it's going to be very all over the place, but it actually wasn't. I have the first one is The Doors of Perception, and the second part of it is called, oh my god, I forgot, Heaven and Hell. Yeah. The second part is called Heaven and Hell. So in this book there are like both of these parts, and it was written like he was completely fine. So the first part of the book, he talks a bit more about what mescaline actually does to your body and how it actually works for your, like, on your system, and how you need to be very, very well in your head and physically well to get it, so you can have the best experience. And it starts to talk a bit more about artistry, and then the second book, the second part, is about artists and how artists perceive world and these doors in your mind. So the concept of this book is basically he's talking about how we all in our mind have all of these doors that lead us more and deep, like that lead us deeper and deeper and deeper in our subconscious. And there are like all of these fields, and then it talks about how artists, when they are painting, they go more deeply in their thoughts than average human does, because an average, if we went very deeply in our thoughts, we would perceive a lot more details in our surroundings, and we would think about them a lot more. But we do not do that. Artists do that. So when you are looking at a painting, you can see that paintings have so, like, the most minuscule details possible that they could paint. They, like, some paintings have, and some painters did. And then it starts to do a bit more of descriptions of paintings and of different artists. It describes how he started looking at these paintings, and he saw all of these draperies, that they were like, how a lot of paintings are mostly just draperies on a person, that it's wild how well it is and how you can make it so believable. It talks about lightning in paintings, and then in the end landscapes, and how landscapes actually, they were painted. So in Europe, I think he said they were only painting landscapes for the last 500 years, I believe. And landscape paintings aren't something that was thought of as needed, because you could see landscapes, and how when you look at landscape, when you look at something up close, you see all the details. When you're on this drug, you perceive it differently. But when you look at a landscape, and if you like stand on top of the building and you just look at through the whole city, it will still look the same. You will not see any kind of difference. So yeah, and there was like all of these conversation about isness and suchness and being. Isness, the fact of something being, the fact of something existing. So it was very interesting to read this. It really made me think about some things, but I didn't expect it to be so much about art and so much about paintings and all of these artists. I definitely think that if you want to read this book, you should Google, or like somewhere, have somewhere art that he's talking about, because it really helps when he's talking about a certain painting to look at the painting. I took with this book it took me about 3 days to read this book till the end, just because I was constantly Googling, and then I would take a break from it and then I would go back. There are like even these, there were like 8 appendixes in the end, which I also read whilst reading the book. And yeah, it wasn't that hard to read. And honestly, I liked it a lot more than Brave New World. I don't know if that's unpopular opinion, but I enjoyed it much more. I'm definitely now interested in what Aldous Huxley wrote, because I know he wrote a lot of philosophical works, so I think I will definitely try to read some other of his works, not now, but at some point in my life, definitely. Those are my thoughts on Doors of Perception. I cannot tell you that much because I feel like it's such a short book, and it really uses a lot of references. And for me to talk about this book, I would need to show you many, many references so it makes sense to you. And that just doesn't make any sense to me to do, so I feel like you should just read this book, and I can say that it's good, and it's not hard to read. It's not that hard to read. For me, if I could comprehend it, and English is not my first language, and I'm not majoring in philosophy or anything, I feel like people that talk English, people that English is their first language, could comprehend this even better. That's it for Doors of Perception. I will not give any star rating because I don't rate nonfiction. It's different for me. Now, the next book, I was thinking about reading The Secret History or something else, but I'm just so excited about this book and I cannot wait anymore to read it, so I picked up Sour Cherry. I read like just the introduction part, so I'm still not in the book, but I am very, very excited about this book. I really hope it doesn't disappoint. I really hope it doesn't disappoint me, that it won't disappoint me. And yeah, that's it. And then I think that Secret History is going to be after this one, just because this one is shorter and I'm very excited about this one, and Secret History is quite a longer book and I want to be fully immersed in it. So I won't be able to do that if I'm excited and just thinking about this book. So I'm going to read this book now. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to update you when I have something to say. Hi. So it's been a week. I haven't updated you guys again in a week, but that's because last week I did a little bit more of a mindful reading. No, I'm just kidding. I just didn't read that much. Last week I was not in the mood to read that much, but I did finish yesterday evening. But I did finish yesterday evening Sour Cherry, and I'm a bit perplexed on my feelings of this book. I don't really know how I feel about it, to be honest, because I did like it, but there was just something missing, and I cannot say that I'm disappointed, but I am a little. But I don't want to say I'm disappointed because I'm not. Like, it's not that I expected so much from this book, but I was just really excited to read it, and I finished it, and my thoughts aren't, oh my god, this is the best book ever, but are, okay, this book was okay. It deals with a very important topic of domestic abuse, and it's written through a fairy tale, like a folk tale, about this boy that was born, and since the day that he was born, he was really, really creepy. He had these long nails always, and he talked to animals, and then animals would do certain bad things to other people, and everything around him always was kind of, crops were always failing, everything would start deteriorating, like castle that he was living in, because he was a lord's son. Like, the wallpapers were kind of starting to flake off the walls, and the clothes would just start and stitch itself, and everything was just becoming very, very bad. And, it would start to smell rotten and like soil, and he'd smell like wood. And then, yeah, that's basically it, the story of this this boy. The synopsis is written like the main character would be Agnes. And Agnes is this boy's nanny. She firstly came when he was a little baby and she fed him because his mother didn't want to go near him because she was kind of scared of him and she said that he is cursed. So she raised him and she was always there. But Agnes is really not that big part of the story. It's this boy, and I didn't think that he would be the main character in the story. I mean, it's, it's story about him and the people around him. It was a bit repetitive in that way, to be honest. I think this is something that I thought that this book would be more of a character study, and I feel like the characters weren't that fleshed out. I think that the main viewpoint was a bit more on the plot itself, the plot of his life. But even though it is written in first perspective, it's still not very, I didn't really understand every single character that much. Something that I realized very soon is that this book really reminded me of some other books that I read. The first one that it reminded me a lot was Tale of a Flower Bride, because in that book there were also these weird children and it is kind of creepy, and you need to check trigger warnings, but it's again like this fairy tale thing, but it's actually not about fairy tale. It's a lot more serious than that. And it also really reminded me of Diary of Blood, because in that one we also have Dracula and then his brides and groom, but people that he was abusing, and we are seeing it from their point of view. And again, one other thing, this is a retelling of Bluebird's Wife, which I never read that tale. One thing I have to say, the writing style was very, very beautiful. I really, really enjoyed it very much, and there are a lot of things that I underlined in this book. I don't usually underline in books, especially if I read them for the first time, but I did underline quite a lot of things in this book. I really, really like the writing style a lot. And the atmosphere of this book is something that I also really, really enjoyed. I did like the descriptions of these houses and descriptions of everything deteriorating, of everything becoming gross, and of everything becoming really grotesque. I really like those descriptions. This book itself is really grotesque and it's full of those kind of descriptions. It's very creepy. One thing I did remember about the main character, I couldn't picture him exactly how he looked, but I could just picture this smirk, because this smirk that he had was mentioned quite a lot of times. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what my thoughts on this book are, because I did expect it to be a bit more character driven story, but it's not that much character driven, or not in a sense that I thought it was going to be. So I have to think about it a little bit more. I hope that until the end of the video I will understand myself a bit better and my views on this book. This morning, when I finished Sour Cherry, I decided to pick up The Secret History, and I'm on page 50. So I read first chapter. It's very immersive. I have to say, this book gripped me in like the first page. I was already inside of it and I can see everything and I feel like I'm there, and I really, really enjoy it so far. I mean, I'm only page 50 out of 600, but I did enjoy the story so far, and I like the characters that were met in the first chapter, so I am very intrigued by it. Those are my thoughts so far on this book. I don't know what else to say about it. Oh yeah, I really love when books start with a mystery, when you know at the beginning of a story how it will end. I know some people really don't like it. I love it. I love when books do that. I love when movies do that. And then you see how everything got to the way it is currently. I really like that. I really enjoy that very much. That's it. I'll continue reading now. Hi. So, I didn't update you guys whatsoever whilst reading any of these books. I just said at the end, oh, I read this book. I'm really sorry about that, but it was a really hectic month for me. I've been traveling a lot and I'm currently still not at home. I'm on a vacation with my family. So I'm trying to film here, but it's really hard because there's a lot of people and a lot of noise and outside it's very windy outside and very sunny, so I tried to film this already one time, but I filmed it by the sea and it was really windy. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to film there, but the sound was atrocious. The audio was not recognizable at any sense. I couldn't save it, so I'm filming it again because I'm currently editing the video. It's a day before I have to put out this video and I still have not filmed anything. Well, I still don't have any footage for the like last part of the video, but yeah, so I did read A Secret History by Donna Tartt 3 days ago, and I give this book 4.75 stars. I have some thoughts about this book. Most of them are very positive because, as you can see from my rating, I really did enjoy this book very much. I think it's a very popular book, so you never know how it will go with those kind of books because so many people have their opinions about the book. And I kind of always wanted to be part of the people loving this book, but I now know I am. So that's a good thing. I really enjoyed me reading this book, like the act of reading this book. Not only having all the imagery in my head and getting the story, but I really loved just looking at the pages and reading the sentences because those sentences were so beautifully written and they were so easy to read, but still, it just gave me this feeling that some books give me, and I am always really happy whilst reading them. I don't know how to describe it, but so it takes place in New York, which is always a big plus for me. It has a big cast of characters, which I also really, really love, and I actually realized that whilst reading this book because I realized that a lot of the books that I really, really love and tend to enjoy mostly are the books that have big cast of characters. I just love big casts and I love family relationships, and this book has it. So I just had such a good time reading this book. I didn't even feel the 600 and something pages in it because it was so nice for me to just open it up and start reading it, and then I could never put it down. I always had to make myself, okay, now you need to go and do something else because you're with your family, you need to hang out with them. You cannot just be in your room or on a balcony reading this book constantly. So all in all, I had such a lovely experience with it. I always like to read reviews after I read a book so I can see if other people had the same opinion as me or if they had some completely different point of view on this book, and I then like to see like different opinions, right? I love seeing opinions and hearing opinions from the people that really disliked the book that I really loved or really loved the book that I really didn't, and see why is that maybe I took something differently than it I supposed to. Maybe I just missed something. Maybe I wasn't really reading coherently. And I did read this review that said that all the characters were really not fleshed out, that they were all kind of the same, which I completely disagree with. I feel like every single character in this book had such a unique voice. Even if I didn't know that they were saying something, even if it wasn't written, oh, this character said this, I always knew who was saying it just because the voice of every single character was so unique and so distinct. And I love that. I love that every character had such a unique voice. It made me so much more immersed in the book. It's really hard to write that big cast of characters and everybody being so unique. I really liked the way the characters were speaking with each other. I loved the dialogue. I thought the banter was so good. And I just loved their relationship, although it was very toxic. I just love those kind of relationships in books. I love toxic books and toxic people in the books. Some of the problems that I had with this book, there weren't a lot of them, but there were some definitely. First, a small problem, but it was still a bit of a problem why I gave it 4.75 stars, is that Julian, their professor, I don't think that he is that unimportant. I think he's a pretty important character, but I didn't really feel like I got to know him at all. And then by the ending, when something happened, we were told that Julian is actually a completely different person than what our main character, what our Richard thought of him, who he was. And I didn't really, care for it because, well, I don't know this character. You can tell me whatever you want about him and I would believe you because I don't think I know him that well. He is somebody that kind of takes care of them and is like a father figure to most of them, and he's basically their only professor, so I did feel that he should have been more involved and more important than what he was. The second thing that I had a problem with is that the first part of the book, I think somewhere until Bunny's funeral, that part of the book was really good. It was really, really good, and I thought it's going to be a 5-star book just from that part. And then afterwards, after Bunny's funeral, there are a lot of subplots that are fine, but none of them I felt were as strong as the whole Bunny. I do like that the book still existed after the whole Bunny thing and that it showed us what was the aftermath of it, but I just didn't feel like it was as strong as what happened during that thing. The last part that I had a problem with, probably the biggest reason why I gave this book 4.75 stars, is the incest. This is maybe a spoiler, but I'm still going to talk about it. I don't understand why it should have been a thing, because it didn't bring anything to the book. Everything that happened because of it could have happened just based on them being brother and sister, and this character being a jealous brother. Everything could have happened just by that. There is no reason for their relationship to be incestuous. He could just be a jealous brother. He could still be abusing her just by being her brother. I don't know why it turned out to be an incestual relationship, and that kind of made me mad because I don't like when books put something in. When you put something like that in a book, just for shock, it doesn't really bring anything to the book. I'm just like, okay, well, fine, I guess. That part kind of ruined it for me, but all in all, I really did enjoy the book. And there was this one quote that I forgot to underline because I was reading on a balcony and I didn't have my pencil with me. And I did underline it, and it was the only thing that I actually wanted to underline in the book. I cannot find that quote for the life of me. I've been searching the internet, I've been searching like the most famous quotes from The Secret History, and I cannot find that one anywhere. I will need to reread this book at some point to find that quote again. But those are my thoughts of The Secret History. First book that I read was The Audition by Katie Kitamura. I enjoyed that book probably the most out of all of these books. I think I would put it in the first place, although I did say in the clip that I gave it 4.5 stars. I did bump it up to 4.75 stars, and it is a book that I know I'm going to be rereading very, very soon, and I do feel that upon rereading it, I would give it even more. And one thing that happened that really made me so happy, there was a Booker Prize announcement for the long list for this year's books, and Audition is on the long list, which I was so happy about because I really did love that book so much. So I'm crossing my fingers that it will get shortlisted because I think it was a great book. The second book that I read was Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, which is a book that I cannot tell you that much about. It's a nonfiction book, and that's basically it. I would put it, I think, in third place. Then I read Sour Cherry by Natalie Theodoridou, which was probably sadly the worst book that I read in this. It's still a great book, but out of these four, I would put it in the last place, just because I loved all of these other much more than that one. And the last book is The Secret History, which I would put in second place. So that's my placement for this month's books. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!